Welcome back to Foot in Mouth. It's a show about all things football and does feature some bad takes sometimes. But I named the show what I did and I have to live up to the name every now and then. This weekend we saw clubs in action for match week 23 of the competition and things still look pretty much the same. Liverpool lead the way thanks to their continued dominance under Arne Slot. They played against Ipswich at Anfield and ran out comfortable 4-1 winners with goals from Dominic Szoboszlai, Mo Salah and a brace from Cody Gakpo, securing all 3 points in the day. Now that brace for Gakpo now it means he's the first Dutch player in Premier League history to score in 6 successive home games. Previous record was 5, which was held by Ruud van Nistelrooy and Robin van Persie, so not bad company to be in. It wasn't just Gakpo celebrating a milestone though. Mo Salah hit his 100th home goal at Anfield this weekend, and it was also his 19th of the competition this season, so that dude is literally just getting better and better with every week. Looking at the stats, it's exactly what you'd expect to see. Liverpool dominating across the board, and this marked their 16th win of the campaign. They are still on 1 loss only so far this season. They've only lost 2 games across all competitions this season, and that record can extend even further for Arne Slot himself, who was unbeaten with Feyenoord in the calendar year of 2024 before he joined Liverpool. Never mind coach of the season, this dude is going to be at the Ballon d'Or Awards getting coach of the year, and if there is any justice in the footballing world, Mo Salah will be on that stage with him, collecting a very overdue Ballon d'Or award for himself. At the rate things are going, the league is still very much Liverpool's to lose. So is the UEFA Champions League for that matter, and the FA Cup, and the Carabao Cup, because let's face it, Spurs are not winning that second leg. I am still hopeful that Liverpool will drop a few more points between now and the end of the season just to give Arsenal a fighting chance. And honestly, I think keep an eye out on that Merseyside derby that's coming up, their game in hand. It's the final one that's going to be at Goodison Park. David Moyes back at the helm. I'm not saying Everton are going to win. I'm not saying they're favourites by any means. I'm just saying that that game could be a little spanner in the works for Liverpool, fingers crossed. But yeah, with the way things are going, I genuinely think that the league is shaping up to have a pretty drama-filled finish. Arsenal trailed the league leaders by 6 points after beating Wolves this weekend, despite Michael Oliver's best efforts to cost the Gunners some more points. And it's really no surprise why. Man City are coming to the Emirates next week, and we all know how Michael Oliver feels about the blue half of Manchester. Arsenal are now one of only 4 clubs that Michael Oliver has refed 50 or more games for, and his tale of the tape makes for an interesting read. He has officiated 50 games for Manchester City so far, and across all that time hasn't dished out a single red card to any City player. He's been the referee for 56 Liverpool games, and in that time he's given Liverpool 1 red card. He's refed on 52 occasions for Everton, and in that time given Everton 5 red cards. And for Arsenal, they've got 7 red cards dished out to them by Michael Oliver over the span of 54 games that he's been the official for. Now, I'm no conspiracy theorist or anything like that, but something does seem just a little bit fishy here. I can sit here and say with absolute certainty that there are at least 3 different games where Man City deserved some straight red cards. But for some reason, when it comes to Michael Oliver and Manchester City, he just never wants to make decisions that will impact the game negatively. I think he needs to just stop saying that and just tell it like it is. He doesn't want to impact Manchester City negatively, because more often than not, this guy's the 12th man. He's not the only referee in the league that is doing more harm than good, but he does love the spotlight. And he was serenaded yet again by fans in the stands, reminding him that it is not all about him. It's not the first time he's been sung that chant. It's not the last time that he'll be sung that chant before the season is over, I presume. At least not as long as the PGMOL insist on not expecting better standards and consistency from their representatives on the pitch. Now, the main incident in question here involved Myles Lewis-Skelly and his straight red card by Michael Oliver. Now, granted, Myles Lewis-Skelly's challenge was a little bit rash. However, the grounds that Michael Oliver on this red card offense on, the grounds were, it was serious foul play, right? Serious foul play. There were some studs involved. I don't think that there was anything malicious in it. I think that was a yellow card offense. I think the player was acting under the impression that this would be a yellow card offense because there was nothing really malicious to it. Nothing malicious at all to it, really. It was just a bit of a trip. Player was fine. Everybody got on about their day. But Michael Oliver saw this as an opportunity to give a straight red card. Now, I'm annoyed as an Arsenal fan, because a straight red means that Myles Lewis-Skelly is going to miss the next 3 games. We are down to bare bones because of injuries. Myles Lewis-Skelly has been one of our better performers in recent weeks. We are going to need that guy. It doesn't help when you got Manchester City, like I said, around the corner, just a few days away. So that happens. Later on in the game, you get João Gomez from Wolves getting a second yellow card for a much worse version of what Myles Lewis-Skelly had done minutes ago. So My annoyance here is the lack of consistency. If one is a straight red, the other should be a straight red too. And I honestly don't like that Michael Oliver was so okay with branding Lewis-Skelly's challenge as serious foul play and VAR not even getting involved in it, just absolutely accepting the referee's word, because it looks like every ex-football player and pundit alike seems to disagree with PGMOL on this. Quite shocking that VAR didn't overturn this, but I'm just annoyed that he can see Lewis-Skelly's challenge and say that's serious foul play, then see what João Gomez does and just deem it as a second yellow card offense. It's nonsense. If that was him correcting his mistake from earlier, makes VAR look even worse because they should have known that he made a mistake, like everybody else who was watching the match. If the Myles Lewis-Skelly challenge card was a red card offense, the João Gomez challenge has to be a straight red card offense. All I ask for is consistency. You know, if we had consistency, then the only thing I'd be left to complain about is Michael Oliver's strict style of refereeing. I'm honestly at the point where I don't want to see Michael Oliver anywhere near the Arsenal team on match day anymore. It's one thing to look at the team sheet and stress, but it's a different breed of anger entirely when you see Michael Oliver's name listed as the referee for the day. Now, not everybody is against Michael Oliver. Naturally, the PGMOL have come to his defense. They put out a statement deeming his decision the correct one, despite public opinion. And then they also did release a statement condemning all the people that have been harassing and threatening Michael Oliver and his family. And while I think that that is absolutely disgraceful, and anybody that has anything to do with any of that stuff, I do hope that they are found out and they are punished accordingly. I am also of the opinion that it's a little bit of a disgrace to use this to gloss over the big issue here of the day, the issue of the weekend, the issue of the season, if you will, seasons even. And I'm not trying to be insensitive because this is a serious matter. If Michael Oliver is facing threats and if his family has been involved in it as well, that's completely unnecessary. That's way over the top. But idiots will be idiots and they get carried away with bad decision making in games. And I think that's why Charles Watts in his recent video made a very good point of saying you would expect, with the climate of things, that after every weekend there are some referees who are getting threats. You know, obviously I'm not trying to say every weekend is as deep as the referee and their family and everyone getting pulled in on it. I'm just saying every weekend you could assume that at least one referee is getting harassed by fans of the losing side on social media. But the PGMOL never come out and make actual statements like this. It just seems a little bit convenient that amidst all this drama surrounding his decision making and his poor performance in the Arsenal versus Wolves game, all of a sudden the PGMOL are coming out with this statement. I've also heard that Michael Oliver doesn't even have a social media account. So in terms of where he's saying the abuse is coming from, like I said, if it's coming from anywhere, that is wrong. I just think that the PGMOL are also wrong to try and sweep this under the rug by, looking for sympathy for Michael Oliver, which, I guess it's working because I do sympathize. I don't think it's right at all that this man is getting harassed. I don't think it's right that his family is getting harassed. But yeah, it just seems a little bit too perfect timing-y, if you ask me. Look, overall, there were some good performances from the Arsenal players, namely by Declan Rice, Yuri and Timber. And of course, I do have to give a lot of credit to Mikel Arteta and the super sub Ricardo Calafiori for getting Arsenal the win. We obviously were down in our luck after Lewis-Skelly sending off, but we responded brilliantly. It was unfortunate to see Ethan Nwaneri have to come off for Ricardo Calafiori, but can't fault the manager's line of thinking because he got us the win. Calafiori, what a player, by the way. It's very unfortunate that we've barely been able to see him this season since he signed because of injuries. But, this is a big goal for Arsenal, and he scored a big goal for Arsenal at the Etihad earlier this season as well. So I think that from what we've seen in the bursts that it's been for, you have seen that there's real potential there. In recent weeks, it obviously looks like he's fallen a little bit down the pecking order with Lewis-Skelly's surprise breakthrough into the first team. But I think that each time you see him, you can understand a little bit more and more why the club paid what they paid. And you can also see why the former chief of the Serie A, Walter Sabatini, deemed this move from Bologna to Arsenal as devastating for the league. He is a very good defender, and he's someone that I really hope will manage to stay injury free for the rest of the season, just so he can have more opportunity to show and prove himself. It's moments like that, the moment against Man City, the goal against Wolves. It's moments like that that Arsenal are going to need if they have any chance of keeping this title race going down to the wire. Meanwhile, on the other side of North London, and Tottenham are still shit. And Jamie Vardy made sure to remind Spurs fans of exactly that after he scored the first in Leicester's comeback win at Spurs home stadium. It's obviously not the first time Jamie Vardy's put Spurs fans in their place. Early this season, we saw them have a draw with Spurs at Leicester's home that time, 1-1, and Jamie Vardy was very quick to remind the Spurs fan base that he has one Premier League trophy and they have none. You would have expected the Spurs fans after that 1-1 draw, they would have been hellbent on getting revenge on home soil, but they failed at that, and Leicester City now have taken 4 points off of Spurs this season. And when you think about it, this was kind of a 6-pointer for Leicester because Spurs are very much in a relegation battle at this point. Let's not kid ourselves. They are now only 8 points ahead of the relegation zone. Leicester now climbed out of the relegation zone with this win against them. And yeah, things just keep going from bad to worse for Ange and the boys. Spurs are without a win in 7 games now in the league. And this was their 4th straight loss. It's their 13th loss of the season. You would think I was talking about a team like Southampton with stats like that. The Spurs fans were letting Daniel Levy know exactly what they think of him in the stands on this day. And honestly, you would do very well to find more motivation to go out and spend money this January transfer window than the current form of the club and the injury crisis. I don't know what Daniel Levy is doing in his boardroom, but he needs to be doing a little bit more to help this man out. And hasn't, of course, covered himself in any glory this season, not by any means, but a manager can only do so much with the players that he has. And again, that injury crisis. Spurs are in absolute turmoil when it comes to players being out. You would think that Daniel Levy should step in right now, at the very least for damage control, Spurs are still in 3 different competitions. They're in the FA Cup, they're in the Carabao Cup, even though they're not going to go further than this round, but they're in the Carabao Cup, and they're in the Europa League. Now, the only thing that is saving Ange Postecoglou from getting sacked right now is the fact that they are still in those 3 competitions, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Levy does end up sacking Ange Postecoglou with some BDE move and bring in someone new before the start of the new season. Oh no, it wouldn't even be so. It would be an interim manager. Stranger things have happened. We saw him let go of Jose Mourinho just before a Carabao Cup final, which still, to this day, has to have been Spurs' biggest chance and biggest and best opportunity to get some silverware. But I am weirdly sure, at the very least, that Daniel Levy has learned from that mistake, and I don't think he'll have another disaster class like that. But yeah, I just think that majority of this blame should not fall on the manager. The blame lies with the owner, the blame lies with the players, and the blame lies with the fans of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club for not having realistic expectations surrounding your club. You guys have finally found your level, okay, at the bottom of the Premier League table. You found your level, now adjust the expectations. Credit to Ruud van Nistelrooy for another impressive result with Leicester City since he's taken over as head coach. Obviously, like I said, they have climbed just out of the relegation zone after this result. And after this weekend's games, Wolves ended up taking their place in the relegation zone. So, looks like Leicester are working towards safety. Still a lot of football left. It's going to be interesting to see if they can keep this up. But with Van Nistelrooy recently saying that the players are starting to buy into his philosophies a lot more, I think the mood at the club is going to be very positive after a win like this. That's a massive morale boost. So, yeah, I know in the beginning of this season, I made the prediction that Leicester would stay up. So far, so good. David Moyes' new manager bounce continued this weekend after Everton beat Brighton, and I'm sure he'll be backing himself to keep his club clear of the relegation zone, especially if Manchester United and Spurs continue to play the way that they play. Although Man United did get an unlikely win against Fulham this weekend. I do say unlikely because I did not expect it, considering how things have been going for them. But they did get a win, and it was a much needed win. That much we can say for sure. We know where Man City are currently lying in the Premier League table. It's shambolic, the amount of losses they've had this season. They don't even have injuries as an excuse. They've just got trash players. The manager is doing everything he can. The manager is trying as hard as he can. It was his 40th birthday this week, and he says he feels 50 since he's taken over as the head coach of Manchester United. Can you imagine what the fans feel like after all these years, bruh? In truth, it was a pretty poor game. I can't lie, not the best watch. And United did get a win thanks to pretty much a wonder goal from Lisandro Martinez, a goal that was a very good goal in all fairness, but it was something that absolutely just came out of nowhere. It was a proper Hail Mary effort, and it worked. And look, 1-0 to Manchester United. Sometimes you only need the one goal, but I think there is a lot of work to be done. I think everybody agrees there. And United take a win, and they'll take it in their stride. And now there's work to be done in the Europa League. Last time out at Rangers didn't look too fantastic. Following that up with this Fulham game, not ideal. So it's anyone's guess how Man United are going to shape out at the end of this week. But it is a win for Man United. They'll take it all day. United are also still in the FA Cup, and so FA Cup, Europa League, there's still every chance that Ruben Amorim in his first season at the club could continue the Ten Hag tradition of winning silverware before the season is up. Nottingham Forest are slowly making their way out of the top 4 placings, and their most recent downfall coming at the hands of Bournemouth. They got slapped 5-0 by Bournemouth. Are you kidding me? I knew Bournemouth were good. I've been backing them this season, but beating Nottingham Forest 5-0, who literally up until this week, up until maybe 2 weeks ago, were pretty much in a title race. This does not help their chances of that unlikely title race. But Bournemouth, bruh, hats off to you. Last week it was Justin Kluivert who was the hat-trick hero. This week it's Dango Ouattara who becomes the first hat-trick scoring Burkina Faso player in Premier League history. This win adds on to an already impressive run of results under Andoni Iraola, and it's seen Bournemouth pretty much firmly in the discussion for European placings. He's now guided the club to an unbeaten run of 11 games. Now, no matter where this club end up finishing this season, I think everybody will be lining up to congratulate their effort this season. It was against all odds. They've got some star performances out of these players, and what I like is that they aren't superstar names. They're not household names, but they play like superstars. Iraola has this team working so well together, and while that is a real positive, the downside of it is that I think that Bournemouth is going to get absolutely picked apart at the end of the season, from their manager to the players that are making all of this happen for them this season. I think it's just an unfortunate reality of the game. Bournemouth aren't exactly the biggest club in football. I'd love to see them stick together. I absolutely would love to see them stick together and see this project through, but I'm being realistic here. You got a club like Spurs currently struggling with Ange Postecoglou. If things continue to go south, you put good money on Daniel Levy having a quick phone call with Iraola as soon as he gets the chance. And again, no one would blame him. No one would blame any club that approaches this manager right now. He is doing a masterclass at this club. You look at some players like the aforementioned Justin Kluivert, who has been having a pretty decent run of form lately. To be fair, he scored 2 hat-tricks this season. He's still young. I saw a lot of people debating that this is probably the best son of an ex-footballer in football that we've seen. I think there's an argument to be made for Erling Haaland, of course. But then again, Erling Haaland's dad versus Kluivert's dad, it's not a very fair comparison to make there. But yeah, Kluivert is, I'm pretty sure, doing his dad proud. You look at someone like Kirkes, who I've spoken about in the show before and tipped for a move away. Look at someone like Semenyo. And this Ouattara kid, probably by the end of the season, he's probably going to be on somebody's wish list too. So I think it's a sad reality, as exciting as it is, that I can't see them staying together. I can't see Bournemouth holding on to everybody, as ideal as that would be. But every player has a price, and I think that Bournemouth, they'll probably get some offers that are just too good to turn down, as we saw with Dominic Solanke's transfer to Spurs. I don't think the club ever wanted to sell Solanke, not after the season he just had. But for that money, bruh, and I think you've got a handful of players at the club now who are going to demand similar fees. I think a few of them are going to go, manager included. But yeah, this win is pretty much as big a statement as you could make in football, and it's going to keep their ambitions for European football alive and well, even more so when you consider that Aston Villa just dropped points at home to West Ham in a 1-1 draw. So Bournemouth are definitely in it to win it. Chelsea versus Manchester City was the biggest fixture of the weekend, and honestly, Chelsea got off to a flying start after there was a mistake by Man City new boy Kusanov. Shame, this dude, he looked absolutely rocked in this game. It was a very nasty welcome to the Premier League, but Chelsea were there to benefit from it. Madueke came through, scored within the first 3 minutes of the game, I think it was. And look, after that goal was scored, Chelsea remembered that they are in fact not in a title race, and they proceeded to lose the game 3-1. It was a day to remember for Phil Foden, as he scored his 6th goal in his last 4 appearances, but it was a day to forget for Robert Sanchez, who pretty much played the role of Man City's 12th man in the absence of Michael Oliver this weekend. There's a lot of talk around Chelsea's goalkeeper situation, people saying that they've had nothing but bad luck since Peter Cech left, which is a crazy thing to say. And not only that, it's a crazy thing to be true, because I think they have had bad luck in the goalkeeper department. But when you look at the players that have come through after Peter Cech, you know, Courtois was there, didn't work out for him at Chelsea, but now look at him at Real Madrid. This dude is world class, absolute mainstay for the Galacticos. They've had Mendy come through, win them a Champions League, and then he dropped off faster than a Spurs title run. Then you get Robert Sanchez. Robert Sanchez is someone that, you know, from Brighton, came in young, looked much more of a player at Brighton than he does at Chelsea. That much is for sure. But yeah, it's not working out for him. Even before he came along, Chelsea set a world record fee for a goalkeeper with Kepa, who is now on loan at Bournemouth. That didn't even work out for them. Not to mention that they've got Jorgensen currently on their bench, who I don't think he's even been given a fair chance yet to flop at Chelsea. I've always rated this guy before he joined Chelsea, but at the way things are going, I think I probably won't rate him anymore after enough appearances with that badge on his chest, bro. They are just cursed in the goalkeeper department. If I'm Chelsea, I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at Costa at Porto. I'm especially looking at Costa because I think he'll come at a reasonable fee. And you need to get in there before Ruben Amorim has seen enough of Andre Onana and decides to bring the man to Old Trafford, because you know that Man United are going to be in the market for a new goalkeeper after the season. They kind of have to, pretty much for the same reasons as Chelsea. Costa would be better than everything that Chelsea currently have, and he's young enough for one of your classic 10-year contracts. The real issue for Chelsea here and for Robert Sanchez is that this isn't the only game that he's had these mistakes. It's not the first time that he's cost the club some very valuable points, and it won't be the last before the season is over. And look, I just don't think he's good enough. I can't lie, I don't think he's good enough, especially when you've got a constantly rotating backline in front of you because of injuries, and also because of the fact that Enzo Maresca needs to keep like 200 players happy, so he's constantly having to rotate these players, bro. But with this win, we do see Manchester City climb back into the top four. They are now in 4th place, putting some very unwanted pressure on Nottingham Forest as well as on Arsenal, to be honest. The rest of the results for the weekend, pretty much business as usual, in all honesty. Newcastle beat Southampton 3-1. Alexander is sucked yet again, the one who puts the win beyond doubt after he scored 2 in this game. The numbers he's putting up this season have been crazy. You know, it has to be said. That was his 17th goal of the season in 22 appearances. That is Mo Salah territory. That's Erling Haaland territory. This guy is just in a league of his own on his day, and it looks like it's his day more often than not. And finally, Brentford beat Crystal Palace 2-1 at Selhurst Park. And this was an interesting game because Brian Mbeumo, who has a 100% success rate from the penalty spot, had a penalty saved in this game. Only to be saved by the bell, VAR. They confirmed that Mark Gahey was encroaching on the penalty spot for the penalty, so he could take it over again. And this time he made no mistakes, put it away comfortably. Gave Brentford also a much needed win. You know, they've needed to get their form up and find some momentum as the season is finishing now. But yeah, they beat Crystal Palace 2-1. With Champions League football, Europa League football, Conference League football all coming up in the next few days, a lot of clubs aren't going to have the luxury of having some rest and relaxation. It especially doesn't help when they've got a January transfer window to be thinking about. Now, Fabrizio Romano has obviously been busy as ever. And some of his recent reports, looking through them today, looks like Neymar is set for a return to Santos, where it all began. I'm pretty excited for this. I do like these homecoming stories in football, and I do hope that he can stay injury-free and revive his career a little bit. I think he's still got enough in the tank to make the Brazil squad for next major tournament. But yeah, Neymar on his way back to Santos. Man United aren't taking no for an answer, and they are back at Lecce's doorstep for fullback Patrick Dorgu. Lecce do want a fee closer to 40 million euros. Man United doing everything they can to not hit that number. But Lecce are holding firm, bruh. They like the player. They want him to stay. They aren't going to push him out the door. But the player has apparently agreed terms, personal terms, with Manchester United. So all that's left is to agree on a fee, apparently. An interesting one for me is Bayer Leverkusen's reported interest in James McAtee at Manchester City. Now, this is interesting for me because, A, I think McAtee's a really good player. I think he's a very, very good player. And B, I don't know if Man City can afford to have another Cole Palmer situation on their hands. Now, I'm not saying McAtee is going to be the next Cole Palmer or as good as Cole Palmer. I'm just saying this is a very talented young player who they've just integrated into their first team relatively recently. He's showing all the right signs. but he's obviously getting very limited minutes in this Manchester City side. I think a move to Leverkusen would be brilliant for him. I don't know how brilliant that would be for Man City, outside of the fact that it would be a fee that is all pure profit. I think he's a homegrown product, so that much is definitely in the pro column. But I don't know if Man City are going to be very ecstatic about the idea of selling James McAtee. Apparently, the offer that's been put out is a loan with a buy option. I think if Man City can probably scrap that buy option entirely in the clause, it'd probably be well worth him going to Leverkusen on loan. Although I don't know, maybe Leverkusen are only interested in the loan with the intention of making it a permanent thing. Apparently, Xabi Alonso is a big fan of the player, and he would get a lot more minutes at Leverkusen, let's be honest. So yeah, I think this is an interesting one to keep an eye on. Another interesting one to keep an eye on is around Sverre Naipan. I don't even know if that's how it's pronounced properly, his first name. Sverre Naipan. Either way, a lot of people want this guy's signature. We've seen the City Group, obviously the Manchester City Girona. We've seen the City Group present their project this week. Aston Villa have had discussions with the players, so have Arsenal. Now I'm seeing a lot of reports that are suggesting that Arsenal are the front runners for his signature now. Fingers crossed. You know, he's not exactly the world-class striker that the club need right now, but he is a very talented 18-year-old Norwegian international. Some people have tipped him to become the next Martin Odegaard, so might as well get him in playing alongside the current Martin Odegaard. And to be honest, I'm especially desperate for Arsenal to get this one over the line. Not because I think that this guy's going to revolutionize our squad in any way, shape or form. Look, it's going to be a small transfer fee, so it's not like they're going to come out of pocket like 20, 30 mil for the player. But I especially want him at the club because as a football manager player, this is one of my absolute go-to wonder kids. There's already been a slight meltdown in the football manager community around the rumors with his future because it's going to be one less gem that you can buy on the cheap in the game. I cannot stress enough how much I would love to see a player that I frequently am a fan of because of football managers sign for Arsenal. Never seen it before. And if Naipan can be the first, then that's a hell of a way to start it, boy, because he is definitely one of my favorites. And then next up, Benjamin Sesko. Got to come to Arsenal. And then, of course, question marks remain over the future of Garnacho and Marcus Rashford, especially after the legend Anthony completed his move to Real Betis on loan. Alright, that's it for today's video. Leave us a comment with your thoughts on the weekend's results or anything football related, really. Thank you for watching the show. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next one.